These days, a topic even hotter than Donald Trump has captured global attention: India's annual trial by fire. While the local population is well accustomed to severe heat waves between April and June, this year's crisis is a complete thermal onslaught on South Asia. It feels less like a typical summer and more like a systemic environmental failure. The latest meteorological data is nothing short of terrifying. In northern India, temperatures in the Banda region reached a staggering 48.2 degrees C, 118.7 degrees F, shattering official historical records since 1951. In New Delhi, the capital, temperatures climbed to 45.3 degrees C, with localized automated weather stations recording peak extremes of 51.0 degrees C, 123.8 degrees F. But the real nightmare begins after sunset. In many urban areas, temperatures refuse to drop at night, remaining well above 35 degrees C. This prevents the human body and infrastructure from recovering, trapping millions of citizens in a relentless 24th July slow cooker environment. This climate disaster strikes at the worst possible moment, overlapping with a cascading economic and geopolitical crisis. Recently, India's heavy industries minister confirmed that the decade-long, highly publicized negotiation for a domestic Tesla gigafactory has officially collapsed. Elon Musk simply walked away, completely bankrupting the dream of a massive supply chain transfer that international analysts had hyped for years. To compound the damage, ongoing conflicts in the Middle East have caused global oil prices to skyrocket and stay high. For India, a country with heavily strained foreign exchange reserves, this energy shock is catastrophic. The Indian rupee has plunged to a historic low, crashing past the 96.8 mark against the US dollar. As the economy slides backward, the country has officially slipped to the sixth largest position globally, igniting severe social unrest. Across major cities, everyday life has devolved into chaos, with citizens engaging in actual fistfights and violent clashes in the streets just to secure basic fuel and gas rations. Yet, amid this collapse of extreme heat, blackouts, fuel shortages, and a crumbling currency, Prime Minister Modi has doubled down on a familiar political strategy. When the domestic reality crumbles, protect the international illusion of power at all costs. For the sake of global prestige, Modi is aggressively trying to forge deep, performative alliances with European leaders. He is pushing a hollow narrative that an India plus Europe axis can somehow outmatch the geopolitical weight of China, the US, and Russia. But public relations cannot change material reality. Geographically and structurally, India is trapped inside a natural convection oven. The north is bounded by the Himalayas, standing like a giant fortress wall that blocks any cool air currents from Central Asia. To the west, the Thar Desert blasts dry, scorching winds day in and day out, while to the south, the Indian Ocean constantly pumps in intense tropical moisture. This year, these factors triggered a massive heat dome, a high-pressure system that acts like a giant pressure cooker lid slapped over the subcontinent, trapping and repeatedly baking the air over the ground. The real silent killer here, however, is not the ambient temperature itself. It is the wet bulb temperature, the critical and deadly combination of heat and extreme humidity. In medical and environmental science, the wet bulb temperature measures the lowest temperature to which an object can cool down through evaporation. Once humidity hits a certain threshold, the air becomes so saturated with moisture that human sweat can no longer evaporate. When sweat cannot evaporate, the human body completely loses its biological capacity to dissipate heat. Scientifically, if the wet bulb temperature crosses 35 degrees C, 95 degrees F, the laws of thermodynamics dictate that a normal, healthy human being even resting in the shade with unlimited water will suffer fatal heat stroke within a few hours. Parts of South Asia are now infinitely approaching this threshold of absolute biological survival. It has sparked a grim, viral local joke. If you die and go to hell, make sure to bring a blanket, because hell is definitely much cooler than here. Even nature's most resilient survival instincts are breaking down. Outdoor mosquitoes have practically vanished, and troops of wild monkeys are jumping into deep wells in packs just to escape being roasted alive. This is not a scene from a Hollywood dystopian movie. This is the reality of June 2026. As is always the case in systemic failures, the poorest segments of society bear the absolute brunt of the suffering. A massive portion of India's bottom tier lives in dense slums, inside houses constructed from iron shacks and corrugated tin sheets. During the day, the metal absorbs the solar radiation. At night, it radiates that heat back inward, turning the entire home into a literal oven. Air conditioning in India remains a luxury reserved almost exclusively for the wealthy and the upper middle class. The nationwide AC penetration rate has long remained stagnant at under 8%. This stark reality was highlighted by a tragic case in Uttar Pradesh, where a 23-year-old woman named Monica hanged herself after a bitter, multi-day argument with her husband, Akash. She had begged him to buy a second-hand AC unit because the suffocating heat made it impossible to sleep. But Akash refused based on a brutal financial reality. They were too poor, and even if they scraped together the cash to purchase the unit, the subsequent electricity bills would completely ruin them. While everyday citizens are roasting to death in the slums, just a few miles away stands Antalya, the infamous 27-story megamansion owned by India's richest billionaire, Mukesh Ambani. Renowned as one of the most expensive private residences on Earth, the interior climate of this tower is kept at a flawless, automated temperature and humidity 24th July. It features private movie theaters, massive hanging gardens, multiple swimming pools, and a 6-story parking garage. This staggering, unvetted wealth gap exposes a profound structural truth. True modernization is not about grand national pride, nor is it about universal democratic values used as public opinion weapons. Modernization boils down to one simple, human sentence, making daily life a bit more comfortable and livable for the average citizen. Managing a population of 1.4 billion people requires robust heavy industry, state-of-the-art energy grids, and concrete engineering, not keyboard battles or internet propaganda. Over the past 20 years, India's leadership poured trillions of dollars into maintaining a superpower illusion. They funded massive military parades, expensive carrier dreams, and high-profile global diplomacy, while completely neglecting the foundational public welfare infrastructure of the country. They became the world's most aggressive weapon buyer, purchasing high-end military hardware from Russia, France, the United States, and Israel. Yet their own domestic power transmission grid is an archaic mess left over from the last century. The lines are severely aging. Transmission losses are among the highest in the world. And illegal power tapping is so widespread that it has formed its own unregulated black market industry. Local electrical workers routinely risk their lives throwing metal hooks onto high-voltage lines just to patch together a broken system. The moment peak demand hits during these heat waves, the energy storage system chokes instantly, leaving citizens without even enough stable electricity to run a basic mechanical fan. Ultimately, global economic cycles and climate shifts spare no nation. But the very fundamental purpose of a government's existence is to act as a B-letter 1ED9C lot, a solid safety net that protects its people at their lowest point. It is to ensure that the most vulnerable and impoverished citizens do not roast to death inside their own homes during an environmental crisis. That is the bare minimum requirement for a genuinely qualified, civilized nation. Building that infrastructure requires immense national sacrifice, discipline, and decades of hard labor. But looking at the human tragedy across the border, it is a price absolutely worth paying. I am Simplified. See you in the next video.